Welcome, listeners. My name is Mariska Kestelo and I'm the founder of Word of Mice. Today it's already the 9th edition of our B2B Influencer Marketing Chat series, and I am super excited to have a very special host. And actually, he doesn't need an introduction. Julius Solaris. He's the largest influencer of the meetings and events industry. I'm very happy that he could join us today a little bit later than normal, but I'm very happy to have you in, Julius. A very warm welcome. And yes, I would like the brief introduction, but actually you don't need a brief introduction. So could you share something about a little bit information about yourself?
I'm Julius Solaris. I'm the editor-in-chief of EventMB, part of Skift as of September 2019. I do had all our content for EventMB and programs for events, and whatever goes into EventMB usually starts from me. So I started the blog 13 years ago, which seems quite a lot. And I feel old saying it, but yeah, that's what it is. We've been covering especially event technology, event trends, and whatever it's new to the industry, or whatever it's new and up and coming. We try to give it coverage, as well as our mission usually has been to make clarity among confusion. And technology has been probably the most confusing topic for event planners for a while. Probably we're past that now. In the past 3 months, we've had a lot of confusion, so I've been clearing a lot of that, trying to at least. That's what I do. I'm based in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm Italian. That's it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for the introduction, Julius. The question, of course, where we start, and it's also a question which we received already from participants who registered on Eventbrite. Because you said already you started 13 years ago with your blog. That was totally not obvious. Today, everyone has his own personal blog. It was not obvious. So how did you get started? How did you had the idea? You thought one day I wake up and I'm going to start with the blog. How did you get up with the idea?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. It's actually, I wouldn't agree that it wasn't obvious at the time, because blogs were pretty cool at the time. So it was the thing. Like, you would start an Instagram account or a TikTok account today with the hope of becoming an influencer. That was blogs back then, even though we didn't have the word influencer back then. It was more, this is a way you can use to create a living and become sort of independent and have your voice. I actually started with the idea that I could make a living out of it. So that was my plan from the beginning. I didn't want to share my voice or be heard or share my feelings. At the time, blogs were more diaries of your life. So it was a lot of personal blogs of people, sharing their day-to-day, which seems crazy today, but that was the only platform. We're talking pre-Twitter, pre-Facebook, if you're very old saying it. That was the only way back then. So that's how they got popular. And then as soon as like a few years went by with blogging, vertical blogs started to sort of come up. Vertical meaning on a very specific subject. So you would become subject expert right there, and you would start to create your own niche and talk about a subject with specificity. So at the time, I had a clear intention in mind to make money blogging, and started like that. And I quickly realized it was almost impossible to do it. Very, very difficult. You would rely on Google AdWords to pay you $2-3 per month. You quickly make the math and say, this is not going to work.
So it means actually, so from the start, because also a question that we received from participants is that you already had directly, I would say, a growth plan from the start. So it was not something that you started already with. I say you had a real plan, a real strategy behind to start with your blog.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a plan. It was more of an intention that I had. It's more like I would cite, quote Mike Tyson, right? That says, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. So that was exactly what happened to me in my plan of, make my. I started like, I started a blog about events because it was the only thing I could talk about. I was very fascinated by the intersection of technology and events, specifically. Social media was coming in right then, 2007, and therefore I was very fascinated by how things like Twitter may impact events, right? So I was having heated conversations on the fact that hashtags were going to be the next big thing in events, among the skepticism of a lot of people around. So, these type of things, I was like super sold immediately on the power of technology and social media to events. And, coming into the events industry back then, I didn't even know the event industry back then. I had some experience working in pharma as in marketing for them. So very limited experience, my own sort of entrepreneurial type of things as a sort of teenager more than anything else, but I had a passion for it, and everybody says like if you can write 58 posts about something, that's your topic. And the only topic I had was events and the intersection of events and technology, and started to write about it. You can still go back if you're very curious and see the first posts that I started writing as ramblings of someone that could speak very limited English at the time. So, not even my close relatives could read me. So I was like pretty much talking to myself back then. And I guess it's been a learning experience after that.
Yeah, because it was interesting that you said learning curve, because there are a lot of people today. I mean, a lot of people want to start blogging or want to become an influencer also within the meetings and events industry. Now you have been working at 13 years. You started as a blogger. What kind of advice can you give to the people who are listening today who want to start with blogging? What would you? Well, I'm not saying what you need to become the biggest influencer, because we'll talk on later what actually to become actually an influencer. But what do you need? What kind of tips and advice could you share from your 13 years career to all the listeners today to start with blogging or to become, I would say, a blogger?
Yes, of course. I'll give it a try. I guess there's no fixed recipe for this, and I guess there's been different waves, and I see people like Irina here that have very, very successful blogs, in the industry, and have been able to sort of cross the chasm to a certain extent and then make it a little bit more structured. What I would say is that if we were talking in December, I would have discouraged you to start a blog right now, because it's tough. It's tough, especially with big companies, event technology and non-technology suppliers, sort of joining the content marketing bandwagon and creating a lot of content, and investing millions and having very structured teams that do content as they would be bloggers / content media people. There's companies out there that do a lot of that. So if we were having this conversation December, January, I would have said, try something different, go on different platforms, YouTube, YouTube. I'm very
interesting how the world has converted. Actually, has been totally transformed. So now we are living in COVID, or and hopefully soon past COVID-19. So now you look at from a different perspective. So now you would encourage people to start, I would say, to start blogging?
Big reshuffle happening in terms of everything. You know, all the rules that we used to have are not there anymore. So there's a lot of opportunity right now. There's opportunity for good quality, researched, in-depth content. There's no time for chit chat. There's no time for your personal experience as much as you think it's important. If you want the honest sort of editorial perspective here, you know, I'm very well known with the people that have worked with me in the past of not being necessarily the easiest to work with on an editorial perspective, because, you know, I say it as it is, because at the end of the day, traffic, interest, and information to event planners is what counts. And the rules, you know, are dictated by the market sometimes. It's just the voice of those rules. So, you know, personal experiences, not really, you know, like, who cares? I care about me as a reader and what's in it for me. So if you're able to give me, you help me, even through your experience at that stage, but if your experience I can relate to and you make it valuable for me, I can relate to that. So there's a lot of space for that. There's a lot of space.
So you mean adapting the content towards your specific, I would say, to specific target audience, because you can make it general. So you would say choose a niche and write it for that specific target audience.
Correct, and it's gotta be useful. It's gotta be valuable. Like, you know, when you write something, you gotta ask yourself, if someone is reading this, is it gonna be worth their time? Like, what are they going to do with it? Like, what is the
critical to yourself, I would say. So be critical to the content that you are creating, if that's good enough.
And that's an art. I get it wrong so many times. Like, even today, I get it wrong. Like, there's articles that I'm so pumped about, so excited about, and they get like 100 clicks, and I'm like, ugh, you know. And there's articles that I thought it was just, you know, whatever, and we got 40,000, 50,000 clicks on it. So, you know, there's completely different perspectives of what understanding what triggers the audience is probably the cleverness, together with persistence. Persistence is probably the one item that, you know, number one way to understand an influence. This applies to all influencers, not whatever content platform you use, whether it's a blog or YouTube or whatever. If you give up, that's it. And I've seen so many great voices giving up for the past 13 years that we need, especially in our industry. Great voices that, you know, they just got a job offer and say, whatever, you know, I'll just get the job, which is fine. You know, you have to understand, I'm not saying it's wrong, but, you know, it does require a lot of belief and persistence.
I think that's a good advice, especially now. I think where persistence is even more important than ever, where we live in very challenging times. I think persistence is very needed. Another question that came actually before we started with the session is tips and advice, I would say, for boosting personal profile and how to position yourself as a thought leader in the meetings and events industry. Because a lot of people think they are a thought leader, but to become one, how do you position yourself, and can you work on your personal brand to become professional and seen as a thought leader?
That's interesting. I was chatting with you on a lesson, Mariska, just right before we started this, and I said, you know, I gotta warn you, I'm very strongly opinionated when it gets to the concept of influence and what it's become today. I think, you know, everybody, depending on their industry and whatever they work in, there's different ways to go about this. So you said two things. I think they're completely different. One is being a thought leader, and one is, you know, raising your personal brand. I'm not an expert in raising my personal brand. I think I'm pretty bad at raising my personal brand. I'm not an expert in that at all. Like, you know, I feel awkward whenever I have to take a picture of myself or putting a picture of myself on Instagram or whatever. You know, I tend to take, you know, stock pictures from events I talk to. I'm not an expert in that game. I know there's
but still a lot of people see you as an example to create your personal profile, because otherwise you wouldn't have the question. So it's interesting how other people think about think about you, but well, because then go to the question about how to position yourself as a thought leader. I mean, you started 30 years ago as your blog. And now people ask you, now we're also here on this chat, because people see you as a thought leader in the meetings and events industry. And I think people also appreciate you because you have that strong opinion. And I think we need that also. And I can say that as a Dutch, because we're also very known for our open opinions. And I think we need that. I think we need those. I think we need more, Julius, people like you have that strong opinion and say what they think. To move forward.
Yes, the thought leadership part is the one I'm interested about. I can talk about that because it's. I think there's no secret sauce for that. For me personally, when I joined the conversation about the event industry, everybody has their own opinions and everybody has their own take on stuff. Especially today, when people share things on social networks and everybody's very opinionated and polarized. I like facts. I like research. I like, spending hours of my time searching for an answer to questions that have been backed up by either research that, whenever there's no research, I do the research. So that's kind of been my go-to tactic to create like value. Nobody cares about opinions that everybody can have, and sometimes there's people that are just, they're just there because they're ahead of something and they share their opinion that is complete crap. Who cares about it? Like, what is the data that you have to support that? And, you will find that whenever you challenge people, especially in our industry, that it's so, for some people, I was so frustrated in 2007 that a lot of people thought that this industry was about centerpieces and mini burgers and stuff like that, while I thought there was a much deeper meaning to the reason why we create events and connect people, that it's about change and it's about impact, and it's about great things. So I navigated away from all this glitziness and stuff like that to find the truth and find the research and the data that could help event planners make informed decisions. And this is what I've been concentrating on from the first day. And even today, when I go on a YouTube channel for someone that is, in their 20s, and they do, I don't know, a YouTube channel about nutrition, for example, and they show me that they've done hundreds of hours of research to create that video, I can so relate to that. I can so immediately connect to what they're saying. That to me is the way you become an influencer, period, especially if we're in B2B. When we're talking consumer, you can still take pictures of yourself next to a product and get 1 million likes. That's not the game that I play. I play a different game.
So it means, so for all the people who are listening, so you would suggest indeed, so do your thorough research up front. I saw also a question coming up. Can you give any tips? How do you do your research? Do you have any, specific sources, or any, specific channels, or you just put it in, just put it in Google, or because it's interesting, because a lot of people share their opinions and share their thoughts on Twitter. You say I do it with research and data, so it would be interesting that people can learn from you what kind of data, what kind of research you have done to come to these facts.
I feel that even when you voice your opinion, a well-researched opinion is very tough to go against. So that's why sometimes I I feel confident to write an article on, the state of the industry, which is mostly about opinion, but within that opinion, I throw in a lot of data and sources that kind of, make that opinion bulletproof to a certain extent, and also try to reflect different perspectives as well. So to your questions about research. So there's probably 2-3 ways I do research. So first of all, we're lucky that we have a big pool of event planners we can talk to. We just did a research on the impact on coronavirus and the use of virtual events which got 1,000 people participating in it in 2 to 3 days. So that's an incredible wealth of data that immediately sort of helps us.
So you mean you ask your network, you ask the people who are following you to sharing their insights and to have the data.
It's kind of privileged to a certain extent because you kind of have to have some statistical significance. And if you have like 20 people participating in it, I would question that. So I believe that you have other ways when you don't have access to large networks and large number of people, which is by observation. So you can go and do research on websites and tweets and all this public information that is out there, reviewing stuff. We did research on, event websites, for example, by looking at 400, 500 event websites. We took the time and spent the time looking at 500 event websites. That's how you create something valuable. It's not like spur of the moment, let's take a picture and put it in there. It's lots of work to come up with something structured. So, and we've been doing that for a lot of our events. We looked at sponsorship packages for 600 events and created sort of a breakdown by industry in terms of what are the most popular sponsorship items, to give you an idea of how, and this is public information. You don't have to do anything, you just have to spend the time. So there's a lot of information out there that can be collected in a very smart way for people that don't have the time to go for that. So you're saving a lot of time to a lot of people that way. And there's value in that, I believe. I think, those are the two ways I would recommend.
Okay, perfect. Well, today we also talk about, of course, B2B influencer marketing. And one question that came up actually from Sabrina, which was actually a great question. If we talk about influencers, who do you consider yourself as influencers within the meetings and events industry, or even beyond?
That's interesting.
Or perhaps we should first go to the definition. I would say a definition of influencers, because everyone has a different, different perceptions also about influencers / thought leaders. So perhaps you can give your opinion, because you said I have a very strong opinion about that. You should share your opinion about influencers in general, and then who you would consider as influencers.
Yeah. The influencers I follow are thought leaders. So they're people that express their thoughts, and they make a lot of sense. And as a result, they become influencers. So they influence other people to follow them, to share whatever they say, to follow their advice. So I believe that connection for me, in terms of, I spent a lot of time thinking about this. I have a sort of wide perspective of how things are happening. I have a lot of data points that I look at daily. So I'm able to influence you, because most of the times you will see that the things that I say actually become true, because they're based on facts in most cases. Now, they're not based on projection. Let's look at, what the future of the event industry may be, or, crystal balling. I'm not into that. I'm more into, these are the things that I look at. So thought leadership that becomes influence. I like that a lot. So people that I look at, obviously our CEO for Skift, Rafat Ali in travel, I believe is one of the people you want to follow, in terms of, and, one of the great things about Rafat is that I knew him before joining Skift, being acquired by them. I followed him online, and the funny thing is that once you work with him, he's exactly what he says on Twitter, he says in Slack within the team. So you're getting exactly the same thing, which is another great quality, I believe, of people that really are genuinely dedicated to share the best advice possible. There's no double game. There's no I'm going to say this to get more tweets or going to get more support.
There's no facade. So you mean transparency. People are the same way. If they're online, they're also offline.
So yeah, Rafat, at Rafat on Twitter, I would definitely recommend him. Then, I follow people, the people I respond to quite a lot in our industry. I always have great chats with Karina from IMAX. I believe she's a great leader in our industry, and an industry that shockingly lacks women leaders. in a sense, not that they are not there, it's just they don't get a voice. So, I believe that, following more people like Karina is definitely key. And whatever, she posts about something, I'm always obviously following whatever IMAX is doing. I believe it's a great community, and she's a great influencer in the way she communicates stuff to the industry. Then, there's a lot of, for whatever is happening about social. I follow Irina, who's here on the chat. I always keep an eye on the things that she's doing. I believe that she did a tremendous job to came out of nowhere, and I know how tough that is, and the dedication and perseverance deserves a lot of credit. There's a lot of people that don't come to mind right now. I try to be outside of the industry as much as I can, personally. So right now, my top influencers, I was talking to Sabrina about it earlier yesterday, are epidemiologists right now. So I follow them, in a crazy sort of addictive way almost, because they seem to be the only ones that are grasping the situation right now among the confusion of different countries and different strategies and different everything. So all of these people are very, they have a lot of influence on me right now.
Yeah. So it means also in general, you look, I would say, so you use your inspiration and your research in general. So you look to thought leaders within the industry, but also outside of industry. And you also have a very diverse, a diversity of people, from men, women, and everything. I would say everything in between to get a real vision and reflection of what's going on. Okay.
For sure, yeah.
Okay,
but,
great.
Contamination is always great, especially if you're trying to bring value to a very sectorial unit. If we're talking B2B and you're very specific, bringing in contamination from the outside, well researched and making sense of it for your industry, it's always a good practice.
Mm-hmm, yeah. We're talking also about digital marketing and influencer marketing. I won't say that you started, but you were a really early adapter with starting your blog and starting with digital marketing, and now suddenly influencer marketing also pops up. How do you see influencer marketing and digital marketing now, especially now in these challenging times that we're living now? How do you see that actually evolving in, I would say, in the near future? What is actually your vision about it? And we don't have any data. You haven't done any research or data yet, but if we can have your opinion or your vision on that.
I guess there's as we said, there's a lot of opportunity for sure right now, since there's a big shake-up of the traditional establishments. So there's a lot of need for guidance and clarity, and very well researched opinions on stuff. So there's still a lot of there's great potential for to rise up right now. TikTok is a perfect example of that. Allow in the stupidity or maybe some of the probably things that I cannot relate to, I can relate to the fact that people are going to a medium to relate in a time of crisis, and they're changing their usual patterns of consumption from Instagram or whatever to a new thing because there's need for something new. So that type of behavior is what I'm interested in. So there is other than the specific tool and their applicability, which you have to evaluate for your audience, I believe. Mm-hmm. But there's a need for something fresh. There's need for something new. There's challenges as well. If you say are a travel blogger, there's challenges right now. I mean, that's
a lot of challenges. Yeah.
Super challenging. But within the industry right now, there's a lot of need for strong voices, for voices that talk sense out of a lot of confusion. You have to think that the way the industry, our events industry, has been impacted. It's seismical, is disruptive, is devastating. So there's a lot of need for good guidance right now to go out and create something meaningful and valuable, whether it's support, it offers relief, whether it offers guidance, whether it offers, support, whatever it is, there's need for it, and you have attention, which with event planners right now, it's crazy. It's impossible to get their attention because they're always so busy doing stuff. So we have to chase numbers for a lot of time. Now you have the opportunity to have big, huge, like any virtual event, even the crappiest one gets hundreds of people to show up. So you have an opportunity there to create something meaningful, to use that voice, which is so difficult to get right now, to create something meaningful. And this is not just events. There's a lot of different sectors that need that clarity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but thank you for the advice and the inspiration, actually, because I think a lot of people they see you as a role model and then inspired. So it's good to know that you're giving that inspiration also towards us, that there's still a need for, still a need. I'm looking virtually to Alessia now, who has collected actually some questions in the chat, because we have passed the 30 minutes. I still have a reserved question also from Eventbrite, but it's more events related.
Yes, we have two more. One from Irina. What's the biggest challenge of proving the value of your channel to sponsors when they prefer investing in traditional trade shows and the sponsorship opportunities at the trade shows?
Well, it's tough to say, because I'm obviously an advocate of face-to-face, and I believe that, the value of face-to-face is paramount and cannot be touched, especially right now where there's a lot of event planners that feel the threat of virtual events and all of that. I believe, the value of face-to-face is there to stay. And, said that, there's better events and there's worse events. So there's events where you spend the money and you get the bang for the buck, and there's events where you don't get that. And, honestly, it's very easy to win sponsors when, they have spent money in a trade show that didn't bring them anything. We've seen time and time again, budgets being shifted from trade shows that didn't deliver to us or other online media. It doesn't have to be us specifically, but I've seen that change, and that usually it's so immediate. That changes as soon as a digital native, someone that has any understanding of how sort of lead generation and online marketing, digital marketing works, comes in, and they look at the results that they're having with some investment in their event strategy, and they see that it's close to zero, they just cut it and go somewhere else. So that's not to say, some trade shows have been growing exponentially because they do so well in delivering that value, right? So is they just like whatever is not working, as soon as someone more analytical comes in that organization, you see the immediate switch, and they immediately contact you back, even if they decided to divest from you years ago and go back to a trade show, because there was more traditional way of looking at things.
Okay. Thank you. And we have one question from Yaroslav. Does writing a blog in your mother language make sense? You narrow your audience, and on the other hand, the blog is a clear audience for potential partners. Be first in your market or just another among many others globally. What do you think about this kind of strategy?
Yeah, I think there's a very solid strategy. I mean, if you want to plan to do this for business and you want to do this to make a living out of it, you gotta have a plan today, a better plan than my plan when I started, which is usually who's going to be the people that are going to pay your bills, right? Who are going to be the companies that are going to pay your bills? You have a list of the top 5-6 companies that potentially can notice you and engage with you in something that it's commercial. So if these companies are local and there's an opportunity locally, yeah, absolutely, why not? And especially if there's no competition, it's almost like I get the same question when I get contacted by event technology companies that are starting an online registration product, right? In 2020, can you start an online registration product? Can you do it globally? It's going to be close to impossible because you're going to be, completely trashed away by people that have billions of dollars to invest in this. So not realistic. Do you have an opportunity to do it locally and create, in your country something specific and then be acquired by someone that is bigger than you? Yes, absolutely. So, creating that national voice actually can open you up to a lot of international opportunities after a while. You'd be amazed. So it's actually a very good strategy, I believe, especially if there's a lot of noise, a lot of people doing the same thing in English, tough to get in, high barriers to entry. Go where it's, you can be, your leader, and it's easier to get there. There's no shame in taking the easy path. Absolutely no shame. I am actually a fan of that, and I've took the easy path so many ways. I mean, I was the only one, if not Corbin Ball. We were like the only two talking about event technology for 6-7 years, maybe, before everybody started to notice.
Mm-hmm. Because you said it also before in the conversation, adapt your content towards the target audience and find your niche. So indeed, if we all go in English and you have a better potential in your country, makes sense. Alessia, I think we have
no more questions. No
more question. Then I have the last question, who came actually from Eventbrite. You actually already respond to that, but if you had to choose online or offline events, which do you prefer, and actually why? Yeah, you've already said it already, but I think a lot of people who are here now on the call also desperately we all have skin hunger. I would say, at least I have. So I think you already said it, but it's nice to hear your vision also on this.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it is a trick question for sure, in a sense that, nothing will ever replace face-to-face. And, I reinforce my religious affiliation to live events forever. So they're not in question. But I was talking to you about this before we started the call. And, a lot of people want to go back to things as they were. Do we really want to go back to things as they were? Do we really want to go back to the event industry we used to have in January? I mean, don't get me wrong. We were at the hype of the experiential, experience-driven marketing, and everybody was pushing money into experiences. Fantastic. But do we want to really go back to an event industry that has not been diverse, has not been representative of minorities and women specifically, that compose 77% of the industry, led by white males in almost all of it? And do we want to go back to an unsustainable industry? Do we want to go back to an industry that doesn't use technology to include people that cannot make it? Welcome the change, welcome the disruption to that effect. And if you've been laid off, you lost your job, you have a lot of time right now to strategize on how you want to be part of a new industry, or you want to be part of the old thing. If you want to be part of the whole thing, let me tell you, things are changing quite fast right now. Mm-hmm. And we're going to get rid of we're going to trim a lot of fat, I believe, right now, of stuff that we didn't accept, unnecessary travel for, a one-day meeting. You can connect by virtual. We know that now, right? A lot of event owners that were exposed to malpractice from venues and suppliers that trick them into contracts to pay incredible fees, F&B fees, travel fees. A lot of people would just turn to virtual because, they don't want to be ripped off. So all those people that have been ripping off each other on both ends, hopefully we'll get rid of them, and we'll invest in an industry that is new and changed and diverse and sustainable and technology-driven, data-driven, that actually creates change instead of getting together and get drunk.
Well, I think especially talking about diversity, of course, I think you also hear there are a lot of women actually today online, and I've spoken also with Sabrina and many others, women who are also on the call today, about the diversity. And I think we live in very interesting times, and I would see also a bit of change on that point within the industry. I'm not going to in the entire discussion, but I think the entire industry and entire world has been disrupted. So, and hopefully it will be for the better. Sometimes it's good to have it shaken up sometimes, and where we lose some people, but hopefully the best will continue. We have now passed 40 minutes. My questions are all up. I'm looking to Alessia. if she has any questions. No?
No more
okay.
question also from.
Then I leave it actually up to Julius, because we have still a few minutes. Is there anything that you would like to share with all these, I would say, passionate event professionals, influencers, thought leaders? I would say, is there anything else that you would like to share from, I would say, from your personal or professional journey since you started blogging with us that we haven't, I would say, that we haven't discussed until now?
I believe, finding your voice, finding your opinion, whatever that is, and truly committing to that. Never let down your voice. That's probably the most important part of the game. And, don't get me wrong, I've had times where I put the blog on the side, and I kind of took a real job as well. We're talking probably 2009, 2010, I was posting once a month. That was it. And then, someone within the industry came to me and said, we need your voice. You need to come back blogging. I was like, okay. So I'll give it a go. I actually opened the business in 2010, 2011. And, I said, what, I'm going to give it a full try. I'm going to dedicate 100% myself to this. I asked my wife to quit her job as well. She quit her job. I didn't ask her, actually. She did quit it by herself. And she's working.
So it means that was actually your wife was your first employee then?
Yeah, she was definitely. I was more her first employee, I would say, rather than everything else. She's the boss. So honestly, to be honest, like I'm not necessarily a good business person.
Well, she's great. I've spoken with her. I mean, she's a real, I would say, an inspiring example also. I mean, she's also the driving force behind Event Manager blog.
100%, way more than I am, making things work and looking at the business sides and partnerships and stuff like that, because you have the tendency a lot. You have to partner yourself with someone sometimes that actually understands the business side of things better than yourself, because I get carried away by the dedication and the excitement and the passion and all of that, but at the end of the day you got to pay the bills as well. So, and there's a lot of free opportunities in the industry. There's a lot of that, but that doesn't pay the bill. So having that mindset as well has helped me a lot, and having someone that looks after that while I can dedicate myself to be creative to a certain extent, that's important, because creative people are not necessarily the best business people. So if you feel you're the creative person, side yourself, and it can be within an organization, within an incubator, within whatever, shared office space, whatever it is, virtual shared office space, if it's the case, to side yourself to someone that does understand the business. And then it's persistence, and there's going to be extremely tough times, extremely difficult times when you don't know whether, we've had so many times like that. But just short, since we have 1 minute, I'll tell you what happened last year. So last year, November, I don't usually share this, but November 2018, actually, November 2018, we were in the process of, talking to someone to acquire us. And, we were about to sign the deal, and the deal went off at the last second. It was already done, already confirmed and everything else, So big blow. In the same time, there was a lot of uncertainty in the market. We didn't have renewals for sponsors coming in October until January. And at the same time, I lost 2 key employees together. So all together in 3 months. This is probably the worst pressure you're going to have in your life, especially if this is your family business and both of you work together. Super tough to go through. But, 9 months later, we sold the business. We did the best year that we ever had in 2019. Things change. This is the persistence part that a lot of us give up way too easily. So, you gotta have skin in the game if you want to make it.
Yeah, we need to create a bigger, a larger elephant skin and be more persistent. So thank you for sharing that personal insight. I hope that all the people here on the call got out some nice ideas and inspirations. And thank you so much for joining. Last week is our 10th edition. It will be our last edition, and will be again at 3 p.m. Where we have Tom Augenthaler. He's a specialist in B2B influencer marketing, together with David Wing, where we go more inside about sharing B2B influencer marketing case studies. So thank you so much all for joining, and I would say see you next week at 3 p.m. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Bye.